from the MCPLive.tv studios, located in downtown Conroe. It's the Conroe Art League, live.
Hello, and welcome to Cal Live, the show that brings you what you need to know about the Conroe Art League, its talented artists, and the wonderful people who make it such an amazing part of the Conroe community. I love doing this show, and it's so much fun for me because there are so many fascinating people that I get to interview. My name is Susan Bramagis. I'm your host, and I am fortunate to have Kaylin Booker with me today. She is a portrait and fine art photographer, and she's also a blogger. In addition to her successful career as a photographer, she writes a blog called Meanwhile in Montgomery County. And we're going to talk about all of that with her. She's married. She has 4 beautiful children, ages 10, 8, 6, and 4. And on top of everything else that she does, she homeschools them. I don't know how she does all she does. She is so much fun to be here, and I'm delighted. So welcome, Kaylin.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here.
Here is my guest. Let's get started. So tell me, where were you born and where did you grow up?
So I was born in Tyler, Texas, and I lived there until I was about 14, and then we moved to, or 15, and then we moved to Midland. So I went to high school in Midland at Lee for the last 2 years of high school.
Okay.
Yeah. So East and West Texas.
Then you went on to get your degree.
I did. I went to Texas Tech University, and I actually went for 1 year, and then I took 2 years off to go through a Bible school missions program at a church there in Lubbock, and that's where I met my husband. We spent 9 months studying the Bible, and then we split up into teams, and we went all over the world. And so I went to not Mexico City. My husband went to Mexico City, and I went to Strasbourg, France, with 3 other girls.
So that's what caused the traveling.
Well, that kind of gave us the travel bug.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because your degree was in public relations.
Right.
But then you didn't really, you went ahead, the travel was after?
Right. So we did that, and then we came back, and we got married 4 months later, and we finished school at Tech. And I have my degree in PR, and he got his degree in engineering, and yeah.
Oh, okay. So then you started traveling again?
Then his job took us all over the world.
Oh, so tell me, what at this point didn't have any children yet?
No, and we were so excited to travel, and we were just gonna, delay having kids because we really wanted to just see the world first. And he accepted his job in November, the November before he graduated, and in February we became pregnant with our first. So then we were suddenly on track to be expats with kids, and honestly, it was the best thing because as a mom, you meet so many more people than my friends who were single and not single, but they didn't have children. Right. You know, they struggled more than I did. I mean, new mom groups are everywhere, and so I was able to meet so many people that way and see the world with my kids. So it was really fun.
So, Kaylin, where all did you go?
Okay, so we went to South Korea. We went there when our oldest was 4 months old, and we stayed for about 6 months, and then we moved to Canada. Edmonton, Canada, which is just north of Calgary. And we stayed there for 2.5 years, and I had a baby there, another little boy. And then we moved to Australia, and we lived there for 2 years, and I had a little girl, a little redhead. And then we came back to Spring, and we lived in Spring for 2.5 years, and I had my last baby there before we moved to Conroe. We lived in Conroe for 4 months, and we moved to the Netherlands, and then and then we moved to Singapore, and we came back a year ago from Singapore. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been an adventure.
Pretty amazing. So, how did you do with the language in the different countries and communicating?
Yeah. Well, okay. So South Korea. You know, you just can't communicate with anyone. Korean, Asian languages are so far from our own tongue that it's just impossible. And we were only there for 6 months. So I just smiled a lot. They're it's a very friendly culture and respectful culture. And so, yeah, we just did a lot of hand motions. And then the next place where we couldn't speak the language was the Netherlands. But they all, for the most part, speak English. Not on a relational level, but it was never a problem to go out in public and do my business, do my shopping or whatever. And
Amsterdam, or where were you?
No, we were near Rotterdam.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but not in Rotterdam, just outside. And then in Singapore, English is one of the national languages, so everyone speaks English there as well. Yeah. So, but when I was in France, I learned French, and so I actually speak French.
Oh,
yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Oh, so that's always something that
It's fun.
Yes.
Yeah. We're getting a French exchange student in July, so I can practice and she can get to know English better. And
in addition to your 4 kids.
yeah.
Boy, you have challenge.
Yeah. She seems really fun, so.
Wow, that is pretty amazing. So when you came, I guess it was after when that you came to Conroe, after Australia? Or?
Yeah, well, we were in spring, and then after Harvey, because 40 houses in our neighborhood flooded. So we moved to the top of the watershed to Conroe, and we wanted to go ahead and have a house here to leave behind so that we have somewhere to come back to. And so we got a house knowing we were going to move 4 months later.
Oh,
it's a little crazy.
So you leased the house while you were gone?
No, we had house sitters.
Oh,
that took care of our house, and they had 4 kids too. So I mean, it was good. It was a blessing for them and for us too. So
Conroe is now home for you.
it is home, and I'm so thankful to have roots somewhere, to have a place to call home where I feel like I'm grounded.
Yeah.
After so long traveling and not really knowing what was next, this feels amazing.
What about your husband? Does he still have to travel, or does he?
He may travel some in the future, but I think at this point we've paid our dues in the expat world, and so I think we get to stay here for the most part.
This was because what is his line of work?
He does project management for wherever they're building things to get oil out of the ground or the ocean. That's the best way I can, because it's usually something different. It's like, modules for, like in Canada, it was getting oil out of the sand dunes or the sand, whatever. Yeah. And now he's doing like a ship, so it changes.
And when you lived overseas, were you living in apartments, or how did you find lodging?
So the first place we lived was amazing. Like, we got off the airplane, they picked us up at the airport, they took us to a beautiful apartment. There was a car in the garage, the bills were all set up. I was like, this expat life is awesome. I can do this. And then everywhere else, because that was the only place where people didn't speak English. Everywhere else we had to do it all ourselves. So we would go stay in a temporary apartment, and we'd go house hunting, and we'd have to go to the social security offices or whatever it was called in that country and get all of our bills and things set up. And so it was a little bit more challenging.
Yeah. But it's lifetime experience.
Right, yeah. It was worth it.
And the kids adapted.
They did, yeah. They loved it.
But I guess they're happy to be in one.
They are. They do have the travel bug as well. And that's why we started Meanwhile Montgomery County, because they wanted to do the adventures and get to know the area, and so that's why they're so happy to go with me places.
Yeah, okay, well, we'll get into that.
Okay.
So, what got you into photography? How did you start that?
Well, through my PR degree, I took a couple of digital media classes, and then when I worked for a year as a marketing person for a nonprofit in Lubbock, Texas, and so I would pick up a camera and take pictures for our print material, but I still wasn't very good at it. I was just on auto and all that kind of stuff. And then when I had a baby, this is really common for photographers, but you have a lot of free time, but it's very unpredictable, like whenever your baby's sleeping or whenever your baby's happy and playing, and moms just love their babies. They think they're the cutest things in the world. And so a lot of times you'll find photographers who started when they had their first baby, and they had time to take pictures, and that was how they kind of entertained themselves, or just did something outside of taking care of the baby. So that was when I started really getting into it.
And then it evolved into a business?
It did. So because we moved every couple of years, I never was able to really have a business. It takes a while for a business to gain ground, gain footing in a new place,
Absolutely, yeah.
So I think the closest I ever came was in Canada. I photographed a friend's wedding, and I started doing birth photography there. So, but here in Conroe is really the first time I've made a good go at it, since I know I'm not leaving.
Yeah, well, and so how do you market yourself?
That's why I started Meanwhile in Montgomery County originally, I think. Well, there were several reasons why I started it, but social media is a huge deal now
Absolutely.
for
Yeah, of
marketing,
course. Yes, yes.
and nobody really wants to follow a photographer unless it's another photographer. So I thought, I can just share about local events and things that we're going to see, and I would tag my business at the bottom of the post because it was my photos that were there on the post. So that's kind of how I've been marketing myself so far.
Good for you. Well, you have the background. You're PR, and you know what to do. So I bet you get some good exposure with that. So what do you like to? When you looked at your site, you do a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm definitely a portrait photographer.
But you like to do nature too.
Yes, I do. And that kind of started because we would be traveling, and I wanted to take a piece of the place home with me, and so I would just take pictures of things that I thought were beautiful and meaningful where we were, and take those home with me.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
They're beautiful.
It's a good way to remember.
Can we?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd like to see one of your nature, the ones that we brought today, I think, are all her nature photography. And this is just, spectacular. It just blows me away.
So that White House is my mom and dad's house.
No.
Yeah, they live in the hill country near Canyon Lake.
Oh.
And
gosh.
I wanted to give them that as a present. So in this photo originally there were a few other houses, but not as many as, like there are today. The neighborhood's more built out. So I just photoshopped all the houses out. And I gave that to them. They have it printed in their home.
Where are you? Okay, is this a hill that you're seeing?
Yeah, because it's the hill country, and so there's just this perfect spot in their neighborhood. It was in the fall. It was beautiful. Yeah.
Oh, it's a painting. It's absolutely
Thanks.
spectacular. It's just beautiful. I was blown away when I saw that. So, do you do your own editing?
I do, and that's because of that class I took in college where they exposed me to Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator, all the things, making my own website. And it wasn't very in-depth, it was just a semester, but just being exposed to those things is so huge, and just not being afraid, because I think a lot of times people will open up those programs and be like afraid of all the buttons and all the things that you can do and not know where to start. So once I was exposed to it, I began to really just dig into it and use it to manipulate like my photos and stuff. And
then what about the post-processing and things? Do you do that too, or do you?
That is post-processing, right?
That is?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's post-processing. Is anything you do in Photoshop afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's all, you do everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't send it off to.
No. I don't make enough money to send it off to anybody else.
So you have all the equipment at home that you need.
Yeah.
It's basically computer
It's just software, and you can, Photoshop, you can just pay monthly, and then it's always updated. You get it off the internet, and
So
it
you
stays
keep,
updated.
Learning more and more. It probably has.
Yeah, absolutely. New people are coming up with new things all the time, and learn a lot on YouTube these days. So, yeah, you don't even need a class anymore.
For you, what is the most difficult part of being a photographer?
The weather.
The outdoors.
Yeah, because you can't, my most beautiful photos are always going to be at sunset on a sunny day. And so anytime it's cloudy, you're just not going to walk away with the same vibrant images. And I love photos that are clear and have true colors. I'm not into doing a lot of filters on my photos or making them look different than they were. I just want them to look beautiful and clean. And so it is disappointing when you schedule someone and it's a cloudy day and you can't get the right colors in your photos. So, and then you have 3-4 weeks of rain.
Oh, that's.
And thank goodness we don't survive on my photography business, because I would not have been able to work at all,
Exactly.
So the weather is definitely my biggest frustration.
So, what about, do you do indoor photography as well?
I don't. The only indoor photography I do is without a flash. So I do lifestyle photography, and that's going to be in somebody's home, or like I've been doing at businesses around town. You just take pictures of like life happening. And so those photos are not going to be necessarily as clean and clear. It's more like emotional. So it's okay if they're a little bit dark and moody, because you're really trying to capture those people in, their real life.
Yes.
So that's the the only indoor photography I do. I don't use flash.
So-
I saw your interview with Patty Gary, and she's been promising me, and I just have to take her up on the offer to teach me flash. She's amazing. So
Well, I think she does a lot of different things. But,
she's great with it, yeah.
So specialized in what they do.
Yeah.
Another one of yours. So there's another one. This is just, you have to tell me about this. It's just
So I thought it was a rose bush, but the lady...
almost like an abstract painting.
It's something else. I don't know what the flower is, but I was actually saying there's this lady who I went to church with. And she lives on Lake Conroe, and she has like this beautiful, gorgeous, amazing mansion. And my kids and I were homeless for a little while, waiting for our, because we kind of came home from Singapore quickly when the pandemic started, because they have a very authoritarian government, and I had reason to believe that they might try to take my kids away from me if there was like a COVID situation where half of us were sick and the other half weren't. So I had a panic attack and came home. And so my house sitters didn't have anywhere to go yet. And so I was kind of floating around, and this lady gave me a place to stay for a few weeks, or maybe it was 2 weeks. And she just let me and my 4 crazy kids come to her home, her beautiful home. And as a thank you gift, I went out into her yard and took some photos of her flowers. And then I had it printed. This one I printed it on metal, which is a really nice, it was really pretty, and I put it on a little easel for her. So this is her picture.
Oh, wow. How do you do that? How do you print on metal?
I have a professional printing company. It's called WHCC, White House Custom Color, and they print all kinds of things. Yeah, wood and bamboo and metal. Yeah, this one I just thought looked really well on metal, so it was fun.
Lend itself to that because it's such a unique color and photograph. Wow, that's pretty.
Yeah, so that was fun. That was hopefully a big enough thank you.
Do you feel that your subject matter and your what you photograph is part of who you are, your personality? You reflect it in what you do?
I think so, yeah. I don't really like to follow the trends necessarily, and I'm drawn to photographing things that I'm interested in, or when it comes to photographing portraits for people, I'm drawn to getting the images that I would want for myself. So, like that perfect photo, I just... Every now and again, I want like that perfect photo of everybody looking at the camera, right? I don't want someone crying or someone blinking or whatever. And so I've taught myself how to head swap. And I have a lot of my family photos that I get for people are actually like moments that never happened. I just took several photos and I just head swapped the perfect face in for everybody. And I'm very meticulous about it. Like, it's very important to me that I get that perfect photo to memorialize that, that time in their lives. So.
Oh my gosh. So if one of the kids is sticking their tongue out or.
Yes. I mean, and it's not so hard as long as I have taken enough photos in one where everybody's doing like sitting in the same spot, then I can and swap people in, and it's my favorite thing to do. Yeah. Sometimes my friends will send me photos, and
you can never get if there's a group of them, 4 with my grandchildren. I could take 5 million pictures.
Right.
One of them turn out because, so I know you could do that.
Yeah, you can even, I recently took did a session in the Bluebonnets with a family, and the baby cried the entire time. He was just really upset. I think he spilled some water on himself in the car on the way there. And I always feel for my clients because I know how much work it is for them to get ready. And, you have to convince your husband often, like, this is something we want to do. And then you drive them somewhere, because you have to go to the right spot. And then, someone's grumpy, and I felt so bad for her the whole time. So I went in, and after I got the baby facing the right way, I actually liquefied his face so it wasn't as scrunched up, and I got rid of his tears. And you can still kind of tell that he's crying a little bit, but it wasn't as bad. Like, he doesn't look as angry. And I love that. Like, I think that's so fun,
Well, that you can do that.
I enjoy that. That's really fun. And that's my personality reflected in my photography.
You are very creative with photography, being able to come up with the end product that you think is the perfect picture that you want to hit in.
Yeah, and people usually seem to, feel the same way. As a mom, I feel like we can identify with what we want. And of course, I always ask, what are you looking for? And I want to make sure that I'm getting what they want as well. So, yeah.
Oh, I think that's great.
It's a group effort.
Okay, let's do this last picture. There's one more that we have, and I want you to tell me about it. Oh, they're beautiful. Look at those. Oh,
These are Do you know what they are?
Are they a dahlia?
Yes, that's a dahlia. Thank you. That is at Gardens by the Bay in Singapore, which is a huge tourist attraction in Singapore. So I don't know if you've ever heard of Singapore, but it's basically like this city-state on an island, just south of Malaysia, and it's all about tourism.
Right. It's clean, a very clean.
It's very clean. It's very, very safe. I never sent my son on the train by himself, but people his age would go on trains by themselves at 10 years old because it was so safe, So anyways, Gardens by the Bay, they were having their Dahlia, festival, and I just took that there because it was so beautiful, and I get so excited about like beautiful things, and I knew I couldn't take that home with me, so I just took a picture.
Yes. Well, so you have several, I think, memories in terms of your photographs from your travels.
Yes, absolutely.
That's so special. I mean,
I love looking back at everything and having those good memories.
I'm sure. Oh my gosh. Well, in addition to this incredible talent that you have in capturing these beautiful photographs, you have also become a blogger.
Yes.
And so, meanwhile, Montgomery, how did you start that? And tell me how that's evolved.
So I was going around getting to know our new town, and I noticed there were all these really great vendors at markets with their booths. I think the very first one I saw was this man, and he was selling these homemade doll houses. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. And it was almost Christmas time. I thought, how perfect is this? And instead of going to wherever, you want to, buy local, here's this guy making these. And there were some that were like these fairy houses. And so I took pictures, and instead of just going personally from my page and sharing them, I put them on my photography page on Facebook, and I shared it from there. It's just easier to share to groups that way. And they would get kicked out because people thought I was advertising my photography, when really I was just advertising for this man.
Yeah.
So I created a new page with the idea that I could share from that page just to the general public without it feeling like my intentions would be clear, because people don't want people just coming on and like spamming their pages to advertise for themselves, and that wasn't my purpose at all, my point. So and then at the same time, I could sort of advertise. That really wasn't the initial reason, but I thought a byproduct of this might be that as a new person in town, a new business owner, a new photographer, I could, let people know, hey, there is this person doing photography without doing a bunch of free sessions. A lot of times when you're new in town, you have to do a lot of free work. It's kind of a thing, or just like really cheap work. And I've been a photographer for 10 years, and I didn't want to do that. It's not in my, I don't have time for it. So so that was just kind of like a byproduct of it, was being able to advertise my photography, but I really just wanted to share these things. And so that's when it started. And then I was sharing food trucks, and
So you kind of go all over Montgomery County?
I do, yeah. And my kids, like I said before, they're very, we crave new things. We crave that change and that adventure, and we don't do well sitting at home. And I believe in experiential learning and firsthand learning with my children. And so every time we leave the house, they're learning something. Well, even at home, they learn a lot. But we go to new places, they talk to different kinds of people, they're talking to adults, they're talking to children, and they're experiencing different things that they're just digesting. So it's part of their education. It's also part of just our desire to travel and go. And so all I do is I take my camera with me, and I take pictures, and then I share about it. Sometimes I'm really excited to share, and so I share like 3 things in one day, because it's just so I want people to see it.
Not every day, but
I try, and it's not really a blog, I guess, because it's just online. I don't have like a blog platform other than Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
I do have a new website where I'm trying to organize everything so that people can see my reviews for things all in one spot.
Right. So would you call it something where if you were new to Montgomery County and you wanted to learn more about what's going on in the county, is that what?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's because that's what I am. I'm sort of new here, and so I'm just discovering things and sharing them.
I mean, I think it's the Visitors and Convention Bureau should.
I have been making connections around town in those areas, so that's been nice.
I think it's one of the Chamber of Commerce. I mean, I think it's so awesome that there's something out there that's visual, that is updated and so you can see what's going on.
Yeah.
How did you come to the Conroe Art League?
Okay, so obviously I'm an artist because I'm a photographer, but I'm not like a print artist, or I can't do all that draw, I can't paint. I'm not experienced at all in those areas, but I love it because my husband and I began collecting original landscape art from the places that we lived. And so our entire house, I could walk you around it and show you all my pieces from local artists in the places that we lived or that we visited and that we loved. So we always would go into art galleries everywhere we visited because it became like our thing to look for this piece to take home. And so when we saw there was an art gallery downtown, we went there. I think maybe the reason we went downtown originally was to go look at the art gallery. And I was just amazed. I couldn't believe this beautiful historic building. I couldn't believe the art that was inside of it, how good it all was, because you go to art galleries, it's not always amazing stuff,
Yeah.
So I was just super impressed with it. And, of course I started asking questions because I'm just very inquisitive. And yeah, so I just got to know them and they said I could join. I thought, people are going to let me join. And then they said I could put a photograph up on the wall with these beautiful, talented artists, and so I did. And so then I did my first docent shift, and that was so fun. And I was like taking pictures and sending it to my mom because I just felt really honored to be allowed to do that, and it was really fun. It was fun. And so I don't know. I might volunteer again. I don't know if I'll do another art on the wall, but I love it. I think it's an amazing resource, and the classes that they give, my kids have taken the classes.
Oh, well,
yeah.
Of course, I'm very biased because I think it's, such a jewel that we have.
It is. It really is.
That you discovered it. And that
and the fact that the city is so supportive of it, providing the building and...
Yes, there's a lot.
It's just great.
Support.
Yeah.
It's just wonderful. Well, I just think that we are very fortunate that you discovered it and that you... feel so strongly about it as well. I don't know how you do all that you do, Kaylin, and in addition to this, all that you do, you're homeschooling your kids.
Yeah.
So that is just incredible to me. Are you going to continue that until they get to a certain point?
Yeah, I think we kind of take each year as it comes and try to decide what's best for them that year, each individually. Right now, I only have 2 that have been in school grade levels, right? My baby's not old enough, and my first daughter is, she just finished her kindergarten year, which is very relaxed and easy. It's not quite as time consuming as it would be in school. And even just in general, learning at home is less time consuming than learning at school. So it's really
and combined
not a huge strain.
Experiential learning.
Right, and we do a lot of what are you interested in? What resources can I get you so you can learn about that? Because I really believe a child learns best when they're interested in it. Think about how many things we learn today because we think we have a question and then we go and research. So my primary job is to give them the tools that they need to research things. So, yeah.
So you are an amazing photographer, an amazing blogger, and an amazing mom. You're just a super mom,
oh, goodness. I hope that's not the takeaway from this because all of those things are lies. But I appreciate you being so encouraging. It means a lot.
I just really am so impressed.
Thank you.
You're still so very young to have accomplished all those wonderful things. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So I just, am so grateful that you were able to spend some time.
Thank you for inviting me.
And I would like to invite all of our listeners and viewers to visit Kaylin's website. It's www.kaylinbooker.com. I'll learn a lot more about Montgomery County from visiting her blog and see her beautiful work that she does with her photography on her website. Thank you again so much, and thank you for spending your time with us again today. Remember that we are so fortunate to have this our Conroe Art League where we can create, appreciate, and learn. And we look forward to seeing you on our next one. Have a wonderful day. Thanks.